June 22, 1941, Operation Barbarossa begins. This operation is the German invasion of the Soviet Union, and they are invading with the largest invasion force in the history of warfare. I'm Indy Needell. This is World War II. Our most recent regular weekly episode came out just 2 days ago, so today I'm only going to cover some events from June 21st and the morning of June 22nd. In the early morning of the 21st, a submarine commander in the Soviet Red Navy reports the sighting of a convoy of 32 German troop transports at the entrance to the Gulf of Finland. That evening, General Maxim Purkayev phones Red Army Chief of Staff Georgy Zhukov to tell him that a German sergeant major has come to the Soviet border guards and is telling them that the German troops are at their jumping-off areas, and they will attack in the morning. That deserting soldier's name, by the way, is Alfred Liskov, a dedicated communist who swims across the Bug River to warn the Soviets. Well, Purkayev calls Zhukov, and he calls Joseph Stalin, and then Stalin and Zhukov meet Defense Commissar Semyon Timoshenko at the Kremlin. Stalin says that the Germans may have sent this turncoat to provoke a conflict. Timoshenko nixes this and tells Joe that the Germans have also cut the telephone lines into the Soviet Union, and they really need to alert all their troops in the border districts. Stalin says that it's too early for that, but does agree to a directive to the military councils in the border districts, warning them that a sudden German attack might happen, but he adds that they should not be incited by any provocations made by the Germans. That directive goes out just after midnight. What else is going on that night? A few stories from that night, courtesy of Martin Gilbert. Adolf Hitler is with Albert Speer and Erich Raeder. After dinner, he speaks of his plans for building a German naval base near Trondheim. Norway, the biggest dockyards in the Reich, and they would build a city there too for 250,000 Germans to live in. Hitler puts on the gramophone and plays his guests Franz Liszt's Les Préludes, telling them they should get used to hearing it, because it's going to be the victory fanfare for Barbarossa. He also talks of his plans for building huge monumental buildings in Berlin and other German cities. Those plans, he said, are now sealed in blood, because Russia will be the source of granite and marble in any quantities they should want. At Novgorod-Volynsk, Soviet General Konstantin Rokossovsky is guest of honor at a concert at his HQ, and when he gets the Moscow directive, he orders his commanders to go to their units after the concert. General Dmitry Pavlov in Kiev is watching a comedy, and when he gets the word, he chooses to see the show to its end. In Semyati, there is a ball in progress the evening of the 21st, and the attendees include, as they often do at such functions there, the German border patrol from the other side of the border, as well as many people from the local Jewish population. The ball is still in full swinging progress past 4 a.m. when bombs begin falling and the power goes out. See, despite all the build-ups of men and material and all the foreshadowing and everything I've talked about, for months and months, the Soviets are taken by nearly total surprise. The Germans have 140 of their own divisions, and their allies and co-belligerents will throw in more. This all includes 17 panzer divisions and 13 motorized ones. Side note here, before I go further, different sources do slightly disagree on the exact numbers. We actually have a special episode about the state of the German and Soviet armies link at the end, so you can see it in more depth. So far during the war, the losses the Wehrmacht has taken are pretty tiny by 20th century war numbers, especially compared to WWII figures. They've lost some 70,000 men killed or missing in Poland, Denmark, Belgium, the Netherlands, France, Luxembourg, Yugoslavia, Greece, North Africa, and Crete combined. The army has grown in size from 3.7 million men to 5 million, the Luftwaffe to 1.7 million, the Kriegsmarine to 400,000, and even the Waffen-SS from 50K to 150K. The German army, with the air fleets, which supported it, was not only larger, but disproportionately stronger in every way, in weapons, in reserves, but above all, in operational skill than in 1939. Hitler's rearmament program of 1935 to 39 had merely lent military weight to his adventures. In foreign policy, his war-making had permeated the whole of German society. One German male in 4 was now in uniform. Most had directly experienced victory, had trodden the soil of occupied territory, and had seen soldiers of the victor nations of 1918 taken into captivity. The red, white, black, and swastika flag had been raised from the Meuse to the Memel, from the belt to the Adige, as the national anthem proclaimed it should fly, and German soldiers now stood ready to carry it even deeper into the zone of conquest Hitler had worked out as his own, into Stalin's Russia. Here is the German roll call on June 22nd, from north to south, Army Group North. Under FM, Wilhelm von Lieb is 26 divisions. These are in 2 armies, the 18th, under Georg von Kukler, and the 16th under Ernst Busch. Erich Hauptner's 4th Panzer Group is there in 3 panzer divisions. 1 army division is in reserve, and 3 are earmarked as security forces. They are supported by Luftflotte, the 1st Army Group. Center, the largest force, is led by FM Fedor von Bock. This is 51 divisions. There are 2 panzer groups, the 3rd under Hermann Hoth and the 2nd under Heinz Guderian, in 9 total panzer divisions. The 2 infantry armies are the 9th under Adolf Strauss and the 4th under Hans Gunther von Kluge. They have 2 reserve divisions and support from Luftflotte 2. Army Group South is 41 German divisions under FM Gerd von Rundstedt. They have 1 panzer Group Ewald von Kleist with 5 divisions. 3 armies are here: the 6th under Walther von Reichenau, the 17th under Karl Heinrich von Stulpnagel, and the 11th under Eugen von Schobert. They are backed with 3 reserve divisions and Luftflotte, the 1st, 5th. They also have 14 Romanian divisions in the Romanian 3rd and 4th armies, under Petre Dumitrescu and Nicolae Ciuperca, respectively. In the far north, preparing to soon join the festivities, are Nicholas von Falkenhorst's units in occupied Norway and 21 divisions of the Finnish army, who are looking forward to taking back all the land that they were forced to cede to the Soviet Union last year after the Winter War. Altogether, this is some 3.5 million men, with some 100 artillery pieces and 300 tanks. Now this is more tanks and about the same number of big guns used last year in France, but it's also over a much larger area. There is a larger proportion of Mark III and IV tanks than last year, around 1/400 of them now, but Hitler's desire to give them better guns has still not happened. The actual panzer divisions themselves now are organized differently. There are more of them, but with smaller numbers in each. The largest has 199 units compared with 300 last year. There are now also 250 assault guns, and they're with infantry support battalions, but they're under the control of the artillery, not the armor, so they're actually competing for resources and production. The Soviet Red Army side is under the direction of Zhukov and Timoshenko. The men in the field along the battlefront from north to south are deployed as follows: Fyodor Kuznetsov's Northwest Front, 24 divisions including 4 tank divisions in 2 armies, the WWII, 8th under Pyotr Sobennikov, and the 11th under Vasily Morozov. Then Pavlov's Western Front, 38 divisions strong, including 8 tank divisions. This is the 3rd Army under Vasily Kuznetsov, the 10th Army under Konstantin Golubeg, and the 4th under Alexander Kurabkov. The 13th under Pyotr Filatov is in reserve at Minsk. The 56 divisions on the SW Front, including 16 tank divisions, are under Mikhail Kirponos and are comprised of the 5th Army under M.I. Potapov, the 6th under Ivan Muzichenko, the 26th under Fyodor Kostenko, and the 12th under Pavel Ponedolin. And down toward the Black Sea is the Southern Front under Ivan Tylenev. 16 divisions, including 4 tank divisions in Ilya Smirnov's 18th Army and Yakov Chervachenko's 9th. Looking at things like logistics and resources, both sides have issues right from the start. We also have a special about the logistics of the campaign that goes into more detail than I will here. Again, link at the end and in the description. A big issue facing the Germans is how to traverse the hundreds and hundreds of kilometers they'll have to cover to achieve their objectives. Over land, with few roads, and a railroad system that uses a different gauge. They've assembled as large a motor pool as they can, using not only German vehicles, but many from France and other occupied nations, which in itself will unavoidably cause problems with maintenance and spare parts. So the Germans are also using 635,000 horses to launch this invasion, meaning that their units are very mobile and can forge ahead, and some move at foot and horse speed. There is the danger that the first will advance beyond the point where they can keep effective contact. The Soviets have a lot of men and a lot of stuff, and that's great for them. But if you look at it closer, there are big flaws. They have a total army strength of 230 divisions, but of that, only like 170 are in the western part of the whole Soviet Union. And moving the ones there not at the front to the front is a move still in many cases of over 1,000 km, and it's several thousand kilometers for the 60 divisions in the rest of the country. They have a lot more total tanks than the Germans do, around 24,000 of them. I know, but only around a quarter of them are in actual running combat order. German intelligence estimates the Red Army to have 10,000 total, so they're way underestimating them. Also, the Soviets have 2 new model tanks, the T-34 and the KV-1. 475 of these are now with the Soviet tank divisions, and the Germans don't really know anything about these models or what they might be capable in the field. The Red Air Force has the numbers advantage as well, some 8,000 planes. However, many of these are in a poor state of repair, and a lot of them are obsolete. In our Between Two Wars series on our Time Ghost History channel, we covered the Red Army purges that happened a couple of years ago, and I talked to rid of a lot of the senior and junior officers of the Army, and the men who've replaced them are not necessarily men of any great military competence. After the Winter War exposed a lot of weaknesses in the Red Army, they did make some big changes, sure, but it's been only a year, and there hasn't really been time for training. Some of the tank drivers have literally only operated a tank for a total of an hour, and this gigantic attack comes as such a surprise that some of the units that are supposed to be at the front lines are over 300 kilometers away in barracks. Some are on training grounds, and some AT, the front lines are too far forward. The initial German plan is for Lieb to head toward Leningrad, Bach for Smolensk, and Rundstedt for Kiev. Hitler has also called for Bach to turn north and aid Army Group North after Smolensk. German Army Chief of Staff Halder, however, has plans for Bach to drive on Moscow, so we'll have to see how that situation develops. 0315, on June 22nd, Operation Barbarossa begins with artillery bombardment, then an advance by motorized units, then the Luftwaffe hit the skies at first light. It is 1 year to the day since France surrendered. German propaganda minister Joseph Goebbels reads a proclamation live over the radio, written by Adolf Hitler. Weighed down with heavy cares, condemned to months of silence, I can at last speak freely German. People, at this moment a march is taking place that, for its extent, compares with the greatest the world has ever seen. I have decided again today to place the fate and future of the Reich and our people in wherever he crosses the border, but to not themselves to cross the border into the Reich. Soviet FM, Vyacheslav Molotov is to broadcast to the nation at noon. Before that, though, the Soviets asked Japan to act as intermediaries for a diplomatic solution, but when it becomes that there is to be no such thing, then comes the announcement that the USSR has been invaded and is at war. In the regular weekly episode on the 27th, I will cover the events that happen in the field from the beginning of the campaign and, of course, the other events of the whole week of the war that don't pertain to Germany or USSR. The master of 9 European capitals, ruler of Europe from the Arctic coldness of the North Cape to the warm island beaches of Crete, his armies unbeaten even further south the frontier of Egypt, Hitler had now set his sights and his armies on Moscow. Make no mistake, from today this is a very different war. Far larger, yes, but if the Germans follow their directives, then it will be bloodier and far less humane. In fact, humanity may have just gone out the window, so this day is only a prelude. I think Franz Liszt is quite fitting.